So, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the last lecture of this series. We are very pleased to have today with us the architect Giacomo Borella from Studio Albori, and who will be moderated by Professor Giovanni Corbellini, who's online. And before giving the floor to Professor Corbellini, we want just to remind you that all the practicalities and the questions that you have, since it's the last day, and then you might have questions about the assignment, have been sent through the email on the 30th of May, but you can also stay after the lecture so we can kind of fix individual problems. So thank you. And I will give the floor now to Professor Corbellini that will introduce to you the lecture. Thank you.
Thanks, Saskia. And good afternoon or morning to everybody. And I'm very pleased to welcome Giacomo Borella, who is, I think, a friend of mine. Always when we meet in some biennale or in some occasion, we have some, let's say, words to exchange and something to comment on. I'm here because I have to confess I am an admirer of Giacomo's work, which is challenging, especially to my approach. Probably the students who attended my courses probably will notice a very deep gap between the things that I teach and the things that Giacomo will show. But nevertheless, I am very, let's say, fond of his architecture. One time I wrote about one of his works in Val d'Aosta, a mountain little villa. And in that occasion, I wrote that Giacomo is one of the few architects I would ask to design something for me, which is, let's say, a bold declaration, because, you know, architects are always very, let's say, jealous of their possibility to put the hands on drawings, especially on the transformation of the environment. I will try to explain this gap and the reason why I would ask to Giacomo to design something for me. I mean, we are architects, so contradiction is within our approach. So we try to be coherent, to be consistent, but at the very end of the day, we are mediators. So we try to keep together everything in something which is honest and beautiful, we hope so. So starting from the things that separate us, Giacomo is very radical, especially very radical in the way he approaches a sort of, let's say, a relationship with the world, which is both political and ecological, or let's say sustainable. Because those narratives, the working for the people and working for the planet, let's say, are deeply embedded in his approach, which usually is something that makes me suspect, because, you know, the projects for good always, not always, but often are not good projects. So the narrative about people involvement, environmental sensibility, and whatever are usually substitute of good architecture. So colleagues use this narrative in order to skip the responsibility to design something which is architecturally sounding and qualitative, let's say. This is not the case of Giacomo, of course, because he is one of the few architects who is able to radically address these issues in a very honest way, it's not about greenwashing at all. It is, let's say, personal involvement in try to do things for good and try to better off our approach and our attitude from this point of view. So I'm very respectful of him because I'm totally not able to behave that way. I usually admire more cynical architects. But on the other hand, I mean, he is one of the few able to accelerate those narratives into a very convincing architectural approach. You will see it. It is not possible to describe. Just one of the things I like to point out is that Giacomo's architecture shows a personal involvement to the point to build with his own hands the things he proposed to his clients. So I think there are contradictions as always, because I mean, architect is always someone who works for the 1%, let's say, maybe 10% in Italy. So it is difficult to keep, I mean, this position of being architects and being politically correct. I mean, for me, it is quite impossible, but one of the few architects can aspire to let's say, to propose a position as such is for sure Giacomo Borella. So I don't want to take too much time. There will be time to comment on his work afterwards. So thanks to Saskia and the other guys and girls of the doctorate in architecture for inviting Giacomo and giving me the possibility to present him.
What can I do? I hope that you can hear, because it was a bit difficult for me to understand, to hear properly. And when Giovanni was speaking, I don't know, it was a lot of basses, frequencies. So I hope it's all okay. Thank you for the invitation. Perhaps I must try to say some words to explain the title. That is, I'm sorry, I have a problem with my glasses that I lost and so I had to do this only until tomorrow when I will have my new pair of reading glasses. The title is Adventures in Absurdistan, and the subtitle is Minor Architecture in the Age of Total Bureaucratization. What is Absurdistan is a word that I only read in Ivan Illich writings. Ivan Illich, we haven't time today to explain who was Ivan Illich. I hope that someone of you would be curious at the end of this lecture and will try to study or to read something. But let's say that Illich employed this word in the last years of his life, between the end of the last century and the beginning of this one. What was for Absurdistan It was his a bit humoristic definition of our world in our time. So Western world in late modernity. More than half a century ago, Illich himself had coined the category of counterproductivity, describing it as a structural feature of modernity. What was counterproductivity for Illich? It was something that is, I think, later on became very clear for us, and is something about the way in modernity the actions and activities exceeded a certain threshold of energy consumption, of money, of technology, of institutionalization. This activity start to produce exactly the opposite outcome of the one that was proposed. Illich observed that in many sectors of our civilization, like health, like transportation, like technology, like housing and schools. And many years later, in the end of his life, he started to use another formula that was a kind of relative of this counterproductivity. That was a Latin motto that was corruptio optimi pessima. It means the same thing of counterproductivity is something that starts to deal with something that is good, that is positive, and to produce the opposite of that. Why I'm speaking of Absurdistan and of counterproductivity to speak of architecture and bureaucratization? Because bureaucracy is a classical manifestation of counterproductivity, originated from the aim to guarantee the correctness of procedures. After a certain threshold, as Illich would say, it became a machinery that devours any kind of activity or content, an abstract entity that entirely shaped our civilization. Is almost the spirit of our time, almost our zeitgeist, and at the same time is incredibly underestimated and is left often exclusively to the grumbling of common people in their everyday troubles. After Max Weber, that studied bureaucracy a lot, after Kafka and Orwell, it has been largely neglected, scarcely taken for serious as a matter of study, with few exceptions. I remember only between my heroes, Simone Weil, Heinrich Böll, and more recently, the great and dear David Graeber. only sometimes this thing of dealing with bureaucracy is made in a bureaucratic governmental way, like, for example, inventing the Orwellian cabinet for simplification in the worst modern tradition of counterproductivity. My conviction is that modern dynamic of counterproductivity, and especially bureaucracy, is deeply shaping also the architecture of our time, to the point that we must be perhaps suspicious about any criticism, historiography, or discourse about contemporary architecture that doesn't recognize bureaucracy between the pivotal ingredients of the production of human physical habitat today. I put also the terms minor architecture in the subtitle of the lecture, because minor architecture is exactly what we as Studio Albori are concerned with or about. Minor architecture is what produced the 99% of human habitat for many centuries, if not millennia. Human habitat has been dreamlike, prodigiously beautiful, incredibly well balanced with nature, in nature and environment. With the race to excellence promoted by media and taught by schools and universities, in our time, minor architecture disappeared. One of the few clear ideas that we had for 30 years is that with our work, we were looking for a kind of contemporary form of minor architecture. How does this hypothesis of contemporary minor architecture interact with counterproductivity of bureaucracy? Major architecture gets along very well with bureaucracy. Its spectacular performances include crowds of lawyers, and bureaucracy can only tickle its financial power. But bureaucracy is lethal to minor architecture that is powerless and fragile by definition, as it has always been. So I'm going to tell you about some adventures of an hypothetical contemporary minor architecture in the Absurdistan of today's bureaucracy. I'm afraid I've prepared too many materials, so we will go quite quick and probably will stop before what I planned. I start with a very old project. I can stop with these ridiculous glasses. I start with a very old project done in 2004. It is the only time in our career that we won a competition. It was in Rome, in west side of Rome. This is the Grande Raccordo Anulare, the center of Rome, Tevere. This is the famous Corviale. And this is a kind of hamlet, unauthorized hamlet, classical borgata abusiva, called Muratella. And that has all the ingredients of the suburbs of Rome and perhaps of Italy, You have the part that is exactly unauthorized originally. You have the new part that is planned by the municipality for recovering the part that was unauthorized, and you have all this part that is the new venue, the new premises of Alitalia, built in the end of the 90s and abandoned only 10 years later. Now is abandoned from 15 years. This was an aerial photograph, and this was the place where we had to design this kindergarten and school. What's the name of Scuola dell'Infanzia in English? Kindergarten, okay. In the middle of the new part that was still at that time to be finished, of this horrible square cubes, the last incarnation of the Palazzina Romana, that are this. And the characteristics of the place was this hill. This was very funnily the only original fragment that was here of the countryside, very typical of the Agro Romano. And only in this that is still surviving here, but within the built city, or this kind of part of the city, is the only surviving piece, fragment of the original geography. So we decided to keep this kind of fragment and to build the kindergarten on top of the hill as a kind of village. This is a sketch that shows the main features of the project, that were this kind of pool, this kind of small micro lake, this central field that I will explain better soon. This is the lake. The houses that were composing the village of the kindergarten, and the relation with the landscape that is behind the building, immediately surrounding the area, and the pavilions or houses that are placed in a way to leave this central field that connects in the distance with the continuity of this original landscape. And this was a request of the competition, was to continue the space of the school, of the kindergarten outside, and designing also a kind of square. So we can see here our project of the kindergarten, the continuity with the landscape through this strict passage, and the connection with the neighbor. And as you can see, our project was more part of as a kind of scale and shapes, more part of the unauthorized part of the village than of the immediate surrounding of the new square blocks. The same thing seen on a maquette and the plan. All this was put on top of this hill that was more or less 5 meters high. And this was the scheme of every house, a floor, a wall in bricks, and the rest was completely done in timber. And every house had his proper side oriented to the sun to have the winter contribution straight from the solar energy. And there was also a thing about water, rainwater. This was the face of the new hamlet on top of the hill from south. This is the competition model. And you can see this kind of flux of empty, continuous space through the school. The lake was done where we found, as we left the hill, we left also the hole that was already there, and we proposed to transform it in a lake. This was an example of one of the pavilions with the, and this is I think the start of the constructive project after winning the competition, with the lake that was also the entrance and the connection with the neighborhood, and the plans, the detail of the scheme of the water collecting system that was all descending through the roofs, going in this kind of big roof of this kind of corridor, also from the other side, and then went to the lake through passages like this one, from one roof to another. So it was a kind of chain of roofs. And this is the village and the model of the constructive part of the work. This empty central field, the water of the lake was pumped into this kind of, what's the name, tanks. And you see here all the houses facing south, with them, everyone a greenhouse. The roofs, the structure of the roof, and the work started, I think, in 2006 and continued for 1 year, and then the constructor went bankrupt and everything stopped, and they were very slow. And this is the point where the works arrived. And this probably is from street view in 2008, the abandoned site, work site. And this is after more than 10 years, or 12 years probably, what has been built. I discovered it 12 years later, by chance, going on Google, seeing that something was happened, and they built from the aerial view, more or less our project. Everything was stopped and we were sent away 10 years before. But the curious thing is that all by themselves, they built a kind of our project with only two main differences. As you can see, one is the hill. The hill, everything was built in 2006, was destroyed, was demolished. And also was digged and planned and flattened the hill. So what now happened is that the windows of the houses where children of 1 year or 2 years are staying or will stay were at the old times were more or less 6 or 5 meters high on the street, and now are exactly facing the cars. This is what they were building, because the worksite is still abandoned again, but this is more or less the same view. The second difference is that the project was completely done in timber, as I said, and they built everything in reinforced concrete and bricks. Last time I went there, I saw they changed the plaque, the signal on the worksite, and I saw that it's difficult to see now, but you can see here that I'm called the responsible for the safety. I think coordinator of safety. I never done the, what's the name, the formation, the school for safety. So I can't do that. So I was very curious, and I called this chap that I can't read the name here, the responsible. Yes, and this is a very funny anecdote, because an engineer with this name attended to my call, and he said, "Oh no, sorry, probably there is a coincidence, because there is another engineer in the municipality of Rome with the same name. I can give you the number." So and because I'm not, he said, "It's not me. I'm nothing to do with this school." So I called the kind of other person with the same name, and he himself said, I have nothing to do with that. So I only wanted to ask, please cancel my name from the signal. So this was only the final anecdote. This was the first project. I think I prepared 4, but probably I will have time only for 2. The second one is another story of hard bureaucracy. That is about a project that was started as a temporary architecture for an exhibition in 2016 in Milan, a Triennale, at an external exhibition curated by Pierluigi Nicolin and Nina Bassoli. They invited external to the Triennale, was at the Hangar Bicocca. They invited a kind of 10 or 15 architects from around the world, and we've been asked to do something. What is our name here? in the garden. They called garden, but it's not exactly a garden. It's a concrete esplanade that is normally used as a place for parking cars. It was something to be built for the duration of 4 months in the hot season. This is very important. So from, I think, May to September or October. And so we had seen this collection of beautiful crates in the warehouse of a constructor with whom we collaborate sometimes. And where the crates made bespoke for artworks that are part of the collection of the Museum of Villa Panza. So it's American art of the second half of the century, of the 20th century. We thought that they could be transformed easily into walls, into bearing walls. And and this was the first ingredient of the project. And the second was that we wanted to try, as we do normally a temporary project, we start from the end. We start asking ourselves what will happen when the thing will be dismantled. So we were looking for an outcome, a solution of what could be in a second life the pavilion that we were building in Hangar Bicocca. And we proposed to this association of friends with whom we collaborated many times, that works with migrants and refugees. And they teach Italian to them. And we did many workshops about places with maquettes and exhibitions with them in Rome and in Milan. And we tried to build a pavilion at the exhibition that could be dismantled and rebuilt in a different shape in another place as the classroom for this school that hadn't a proper premise. This was the proposal we made to the curator of the exhibition. The idea was to build this kind of structural part of the future classroom without the parts of the roof, without a facade, but it was a kind of skeleton to be then rebuilt in another place within the former psychiatric hospital Milan. That is a beautiful park, and this was the location, and this is the location, and this was the whole project, the complete final project, done completely with these crates I showed, filled with straw as insulation, and completed with many other scraps or recycled materials. This was a model of this kind of classroom that was also a open space classroom on the rooftop. And this was the model, but this proposal didn't like to the curators, and so we, at that time, we had already went on with the project outside the exhibition, And so it was difficult. And we had to do a kind of deconstruction of the project to use the same elements for doing something that the curators hopefully will approve. And so this is the reconfiguration of the same project that I showed of the first solution, but was only a porch and was a kind of place to produce shadow in the hot season, in a place which is without shadows, and so with the fans and a lot of chairs. Hangar Bicocca is a place is free, the entrance, so it's full of families and people that goes on the weekend, but they haven't place to sit down in the shadow. And so this porch was just for that. This is the maquette of the new solution. And you recognize the crates and the same trusses that you saw in the proper classroom. And so we started so this time the curators accepted the proposal, and we started to build it. The perspective was to build it with our hands, with the help of two proper carpenters. So this is the preparation of the crates. The crates in the version for the exhibition were empty, without straw, because was not needed insulation, and the insulation and all the rest would come for the second phase. And this is the preparation, and the transportation at the Hangar Bicocca and the building of the structure. These corrugated fiber concrete sheets came from another work where we were dismantling a roof just near Turin, behind the Superga hill. These are the photovoltaic panels, some parts of the collecting of rainwater, and the installation done. There are these, what's the name of imbuto? I don't know. You see what it is. Sorry? No. We don't know what is imbuto. There is an imbuto here and the scola pasta here that is for directing the water in the field without doing a hole in the grass. This is the inside of the pavilion, and these are the students of this school that came to visit the pavilion, and we did some presentation of books and other things. This was a quotation from the gospel about scraps and discarded thing. The detail of the path of the water, and some people using sitting, because it's also open during the night until midnight. This is the deconstruction, but unfortunately we didn't manage to organize the second phase that should be there, that is the former psychiatric hospital. And so all the materials returned in this place. We found an association that could recover them, waiting for another occasion, because this thing of the classroom failed completely in terms of money, of agreement with the institution that was owners of the park. And so passed probably 3 years, and the association that was keeping all the material was very kind. And another possibility come out here that is a nice place in Milan, Parco delle Cave, a place with a lot of lakes within the city, and in particular in this in the shore of this first South Lake. This was so the third or fourth kind of recombination of the same materials. The request, the program was to build a bar. And this was the original pavilion. And these were other pieces that were requested by the program. And this is the proposal. This proposal was rejected, unfortunately, for a very complicated, very interesting dynamic that now will be too long to explain, but was at that point was asked to us to move the project in another part of the same Parco delle Cave, in another lake. That is, this was the old location and the first location, and this is the second. It's a special place because it's in a kind of isthmus that divides two lakes. It's this place. And there are many unauthorized buildings that is funny that are unauthorized but are property of the council of the municipality of Milan. And the new request was to put the building here to recover a kind of half of this promontory and cleaning from all this rubbish and old pieces of unauthorized building. We proposed to keep a piece of a building of already existing for adding it to our collection of kind of leftovers. And this is the pavilion that was recombined in a different way and with more other pieces, the existing piece, the kitchens and the small offices. And this is the piece that we thought that it could be kept and transformed in the bathroom, public bathroom of this, that would be not anymore a bar, but a building for an association. And so this is the project. And you can recognize all the crates here that are the kind of mega bricks of this project. This is the fragment of what we were keeping of the existing, and everything around is as it is, included trees and flowers. And this is a piece of floor that is now within the existing building that is here, that should become part of the arrangement of external spaces. This is the new maquette. The thing was to use the wood for heating. Of course, we are in a big park. There are a lot of logs coming from maintenance of the park, but this building was to be done in, it's difficult to translate, scomputon is a constructor realize a building and give it to the municipality instead of giving the money of the taxes you pay when you build something else, you know? So this is a part of a large intervention of completion of the park, and was done by a private, but given to the municipality at the end. And the municipality asked us, no, they forbidden to use biomasses for heating, unfortunately. So this is the project without the chimney you see here, and you see this one. They asked us to put here a heating pump, stupid heating pump. This is an aerial view of the promontory as it is, and this is the, you can see where it fits. The building as it was designed in the constructive phase, you see all the crates, and then this is a big surprise. This project had to be approved by 22 entities. One of these is Area Tecnica Demanio. It was the entity that had to be the kind of owner of the building, that was having to have the keys. And they, at the beginning, they gave this judgment that is we think very interesting, the proposal of for the realization of the new premise of the association Il Bersagliere. This is the name of the place, with implying recycled wooden material. So this was the first judgment of this entity. But then, so we brought on the place all the material that is under this this fabric, and then this is 27 November of 2 years ago. The same entity produced the kind of integration of the judgment that they were so mad to write. We confirm substantially our positive judgment about the project, except that for the recycled materials. So everything is perfect. You can go on, but everything must be done with new materials. So this is what we had to do, unfortunately. These are the materials that now are rotting there in the place. And we delivered the constructive project just 2 months ago. And the most surrealistic project I've done in my life, because is the constructive design of something that had the shape of the materials that were its ingredients, done completely with new materials. I don't know, I would be at the half of my lecture, but probably I must stop, I think, or not. Yes, but then there is no room for questions. So I would have 2 other projects. I can go quick. One. Okay. Okay. So I can use this. This is another adventure, and this started in 2016 in Milan. Is for the project for this plot that is between this, that is a viale, a boulevard with a lot of car traffic and a lot of queues. The no, what's the name of semaphore? Traffic light place with so always cars and lorries. And from the other side of the plot, the railway, a local railway, urban railway, is made of 3 buildings. This is the side of the facade of the building on the boulevard. This is the internal side. Is a classical building of the very beginning of 20th century with houses, offices of a small production. The production in the building in the courtyard, and that is this one where they produced at the time cheese, and another building on the side of the railway that was a barn, that is this one, with the front on the railway that is completely, almost completely blind. Is this one. Only 2 windows closed. And this is our first project, I think, in April 2017. This complex of building was bought by a group of families, more or less 10, with other 10 around, not sure to go to live there, but at the end was a kind of real co-housing without using that formula, where all these families of singles or people wanted to go to live. There were also a kind of self-organized welfare system with people paying rent, other people buying, so something self-organized. And the person that was more or less organizing everything and putting in advance the money, that is not a little thing, in particular wanted very much to go to live in this building that was facing the railway. He is a fanatic of railways, and he was thinking to live here. So everything was started before buying the property, going to discuss with the railway company to understand what was the possibility to change the use of this part that is not residential now, and if it was possible to open windows and everything. At that time, this was 2016, I think, all this was possible. So this is the beginning of the project. On the street side, very easily, the building is already inhabitable, and so we only did this thing on the roof, and the internal side, there is a bit more of intervention. There is a elevator. There are also here new volumes, and this is the central part where they wanted to do the big common room on top with 2 big common terraces. and the building facing the railway. This is the internal side, and this is a scheme of a plan proposed. And this is complicated, quite complicated longitudinal section. That is this, because there was a very complicated regulation about this situation of facing railway at that time. And so there was a problem to, I don't remember exactly, but to not presenting rooms straight facing the railway. And this was a first hypothesis of this new facade. But was rejected by railway company for technical and juridical problems. So this is a second try in which it's not clear here, but we studied a solution where all the rooms of the houses had a kind of double window between, and a kind of vestibule in the middle between external side and rooms. So this is the upper level, and there are this kind of vestibules that were kind of greenhouses where the rooms and bathrooms faced, but facing in this kind of intermediate space with windows in this side and also outside. This was a kind of trick we proposed, that was to put, because we could open not views but lights. There is a difference in Italian legislation. The views are proper windows. The lights are something that let air and light come in, but from 2 meters height. So there was a kind of panel to close, and that surely could be removed after a while. This is the new proposal, but in the meanwhile, the railway company changed the rules, and at this point, they were not giving any possibility to open new windows. So this is our project, opening only this door, because the property included a thin strip of land, and they were obliged to open a door, but only this. So this is a solution after all these projects for this side. This, we arrived at the 2018, and this is the project we delivered to the municipality with the authorization of the railway company. This is the internal side of the front building on the street. This is the new elevator that is folded with recycled shutters to avoid this common effect of, oven within an elevator in the courtyard. And this is what we were proposing for the central building. You can see more or less all the complex. You see the 2 terraces, and you see the facade without any openings, and a lot of photovoltaic panels on the roof. The idea was to produce on the place all the energy needed. in combination with geothermal plants. These are the volumes with the terrace on top, and this is the section of one of these wings of the building where there was a quite complex thing about keeping all the part of the slabs that were in good structural condition like this, and in these parts elevating the roof, the new roof, and where the slab is in bad condition, we demolish it and we build a new slab lower, keeping the roof. So it's a kind of alternance. And this was just the problem because the municipality rejected the project after 2.5 years of observation, and was that they didn't agree with our interpretation of the law about transforming the roof spaces under the roof, the spaces under the roof. There is a special legislation about that. So this is the sketch we presented, saying, really, do you want we do an awful project like this? So this was the solution that they were asking us. You see here all these small, what's the name? Abbaino in Italiano, instead of this. This was the original project. And this sketch was only done for asking, really, is very stupid what you are asking. And they interpreted, no, it's okay, it's perfect. So you must proceed with this solution. So the new project presented in recently, beginning of this year, January. This is more or less the same. No, it's not the same. Here there was a solution that was more articulated, and now there are two abbaini. These are the new solution they ask, and so the two common terraces disappeared, and this is what was already more or less. But now there is the last surprise, is that the same people, the same director of the office of the municipality found new things that were not corresponding to the law, but he didn't contested it before. When the project was failed before, they didn't show this problem. So the new problem was about the elevator. Also this terrace, we can't do this terrace. And the other problem was about the elevator, because he's interpreting that the facade of the elevator must be at least 10 meters from the front, the opposite front. There are many laws and sentences that are about the fact that the facade of an elevator is not properly a volume, is a technical structure, and is also for permitting disabled to go to the floors of the building. So, but now this is the situation of this project, and we are changing for another time this project, taking out the elevator. So this is the end of the third project, and I think is enough probably. I'm a bit sorry because to explain all these things that I'm very, as you can suspect, I'm very involved in about the clash between, I call minor architecture and bureaucracy. I sacrificed to show you proper finished architectures, but probably I will do it another time. Thank you very much.
So maybe I see Professor Corbellini kind of laughing or smiling. So maybe if he has something to say before asking the questions.
It is a bitter smile.
Sorry?
It is a bitter smile because.
Yes.
Because I mean, the bottom line for the student is that they should switch to the law school, abandoning architecture and becomes lawyer so that they can manage all this completely crazy bureaucracy we have to work with. Anyway, I don't want to steal time to questions from the people who is attending. So if there are already someone with question, I'm ready to give the floor to her or him. I just want to point out that this kind of let's say scrap architecture that Giacomo is proposing is very difficult to manage. I mean, it is easier to produce a very polite and well-proportioned architecture with new materials when you are managing the stuff you let's say the stock of scraps that you put in a sort of repository in order to reuse them when they come at end. It is very difficult. And I know very well because I'm a self-builder, me too. And this is the kind of things that gives me the better satisfaction, let's say, when I can resolve a problem with a piece of scrap that I put away, not knowing what to do with it at the end. So, I mean, it is something that probably as architects, we are not used to deal with. I mean, there is a nice passage in one of the books of Levi-Strauss, the well-known anthropologist, that Colin Rowe repeated, somehow quoted, which is about the difference between the engineer and the bricklayer. Okay. Me and Giacomo, and especially Giacomo, all the life, let's say, we are on the side of the bricklayer. So I have no question, Giacomo. Everything was very clear, very sad and funny together. I mean, it is funny seen from outside, but very sad knowing that the amount of work this crazy situation asked to you and ask us when we are practicing architecture. So, thanks. If there are questions, please.
I see Seren.
Yes.
Also someone from the audience live. So
Excuse me, just an issue. I have an issue with my dad at home, so I have to leave in a, let's say, 15, 20 minutes. So please, I apologize, but my old dad is at the hospital now, so I have to take the car and go rapidly at home to help my brother who is coping with this situation. So excuse me, but in 15 minutes I have to go.
Okay, absolutely, no problem. Yeah, you can start.
First of all, thank you so much for this lecture. I would like to say something that finding the character and let's say that character of the site, finding that the element that could be the shine of the site is a really hard task for an architect, because we always try to, in our minds, demolish and create something from zero. And I see in the projects that even there are the level differences, different approaches, that even the regulation is not allowing us to do. It's completely something else. And trying to reuse the material before the recycling, it's the perfect solution to do it, because it's always reducing the process and the energy that we are using. And I assume that even, for example, using the straw as an insulation material, or even a building material, cannot be done in Europe, maybe only Germany, I don't know. So I was wondering, since there is this huge amount of work every time trying to prepare a work in the office, I don't know, a huge delivery to the municipality, every time preparing all those yellows and the red drawings, taking years, and every time trying to face with another problem. How does this affect your mind when you need to design? Because you will probably, during the design phase, but they will say, no, maybe I shouldn't do this. Like, how you conflict and how you pass your barriers in your mind when it comes to this regulation that is memorized in your head then? Because it's also my problem. It's so personal. I am sorry for asking this, but before letting the people say no, I say myself to no, and I cannot imagine your position, how you deal with it. It's so important for me. Thank you.
No, it's not easy to answer, of course. I think we are not young anymore now. This is the difference. And so we had a lot of energy to transform in a kind of game every accident. But now I think there are two problems. We are not young anymore, and bureaucracy and madness of reality is increasing in a very fast pace. And so this, we are in this point that is perhaps we start to be a bit exhausted. It's for that I chosen this subject for today, because it's something that I think is not. An architect tends to propose something that is more funny or more that permit him to or her to show his or her architecture in a more complete and happiest way. This is troublesome and something that is not don't leave you to do the project you wanted to do. It's not, I think, a very important precisation is perhaps the following. I think it's not the same old thing that the architects want to do the project that is in his mind, and the bad people outside don't leave it happen. It's not that. I think we are speaking of something that is in another level. because I think we always been quite keen on confrontation with a lot of peoples, with clients, communities, if happens, constructors, experts, a lot. So this is part of doing a lively architecture. I think so. It's not this kind of how can I say, rivendicazione, claim. I'm not claiming that. This is another thing. So the thing that the architects claim that want to do his drawing without discussing anything is not that. I think here we are in a different frame. Is a kind of mutation. And also if you are very open and you think that architecture is not a single mind process, but is a path of confrontation, that everything must influence the other parts, and so you must be fluid and open. Now this frame of bureaucracy is another level of the thing. It's not anymore about confrontation. It's a kind of yes, I would say, sorry, what did you say? Barriera. Yes, but is a kind of, yes, of upside down world, you know, in which, as you see, often to do the right thing, you must do the most stupid thing.
So we say goodbye to Professor Corbellini and we thank him very much for being with us, even online.
Grazie a voi.
Thank you, Giovanni. Ciao, ciao.
Ciao, scusatemi, ma ho questo problema. A essere vecchi, i genitori sono ancora più vecchi, per cui... Ciao a tutti, grazie.
Ciao.
But maybe we still have one time for one question more. So we can ask Seren Kokaslan from online.
Yes.
To editor. Yes.
Yes, I will open my camera.
Yes, thank you.
Yes. Hi, I have one question and thank you for this last lecture. And my question is, as a studio Albori, you care about the reusability of the materials and you include both reused materials and reusable materials in your projects. Are there some key points you pay attention to while choosing these materials? And what are the challenges you are facing with this usage of these materials in the design process, including bureaucratic challenges?
From the aula, we had a bit of audio problem, so maybe it would be easier if you don't mind to write it down, so we can read here.
Yeah, I have already prepared it.
Thank you.
Sorry, there is a problem with the acoustic here. Probably, I don't know if we must thank Renzo Piano or what, but it's quite difficult to.
I have shared on.
Oh. They can't see it.
Can you read it? I can read it out loud. So as Studio Albori, you care about the reusability of materials. You include both reused materials and reusable materials in your projects. Are there some key points you pay attention to while choosing these materials? And what are the challenges you are facing with usage of this material during the design process, including bureaucratic challenges? So the key points you pay attention while reusing the materials and the challenges you face on the moment you want to use them, also from the bureaucratic point of view.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. yes, we are again in a paradoxical situation, because from one side we are invited to Congress about, you know, this thing of circular economy, that today everyone is doing circular economy. But at the end, in the practical world, we are in this condition I told you. And so what is about this circular economy is they are all pushing for an interpretation of reuse and recycling that is completely in the perspective of the very old industrial way of thinking. So you must only pass through a industrial supply chain. If you are not, you are doing something wrong. And so this is a problem. If they want to neutralize any potential of the proper, simple, honest, available material, you must go to buy some, I don't know, product in aluminium that are perfectly the same of the others, but has a label that is written recycled at, I don't know, 10%, 6%. This is what they want. And I don't know who are they. I'm speaking a bit like the word a kind of system. It's not a system, but there is a big pressure in this direction. And I think also probably in Italy there is a kind of superposition of the kind of European principles from one side and the Italian way of legislating that is an explosive mixture, I think, because you are probably, for example, I think that seeing friends or colleagues what are doing in Germany or in Switzerland or in England, I think we have about that in application, interpretation of European laws in Italy that is a kind of something Kafkian. So the thing is that is very difficult. It's almost impossible to do something in the public field. So if it's a public work, it's better to take off from your mind to reuse anything. Of course, you must produce a lot of books where you are writing that your project contains at least %, of recycled materials, but you are only writing what they are asking. You are not putting in your project anything that is recycled. Probably will be a problem of the constructor that will have to demonstrate that a percentage of what he's doing is done with recycled materials. But it's an industrial recycling. It's not something that you can manifest itself in your architecture. It's something that is only something that is lost in the industrial supply chain. There is this boy that is waiting. Perhaps you must come here for people at home. Sorry.
I feel like it's really clear this necessity of passage through an industrial chain that is required in Italy. But isn't there any company inserted into the industrial chains that has a task to maybe resell, put in the market properly recycled materials? I remember you were talking about this company that was storing the material for you after the project in Bicocca, if I'm wrong. And don't these companies insert themselves in the industrial chain of then reproposing properly reused recycled materials rather than just written down and then it's a problem of the construction?
Se ci sono una domanda? No. There are something like that. There are places in the world where there are associations or companies that do this. For example, you know the group Rotor in Belgium that are very famous. They, after many years of studies, of researches, with a lot of funding and a lot of organization, they opened a place that is exactly that. You can go on internet and you can see their catalog today, what you can find there, that is in Brussels. From doors to, I don't know, beams, to big things, to small things. We collaborated in the States, in the United States, for the Chicago Biennial of 2015 in Chicago with one of these things that we already knew because we read about the flourishing of these not companies, because are more association that flourished with the, you know, the crisis of 2008 of what was the name, connected with failures of real estate companies. What was the name? This crisis had the effect of producing enormous quantity of abandoned building in the US. And so this thing started for try to cope with this problem and transforming it in a kind of resource. And so a lot of association born for dismantling houses and selling, of course, repairing or separating, organizing it, but selling as second-hand building materials. And there are many in the United States. In Chicago, probably there are 4 or 5, and they're very big. And these are absolutely paradise for people like us. And so, for example, when we went to Chicago to realize something as similar to what they asked us at Bicocca, there we worked. Hiring was something for 3 or 4 months. We working hiring materials from this center, working with them, doing a small contract for few money for using materials for this period, and they went to dismantle our construction in Chicago. But in Italy, at the moment, nothing at all of this kind exists. And the man that gave us the crates is a simple constructor that is a bit mad, a bit loony, and had big warehouses, not in Milan, in Lake Maggiore, where he keep more or less what he normally should put in the bin, and so we only saw these crates there. It was a room like this full of crates, and we used it before for other works, but like big piece of furniture. And so we kept in our mind that we were waiting for an occasion for doing something like that. But I think it was a bad idea, as you can judge from the result, because at the end, everything is rotting there. But so we are I think we are in a situation that, for me, it's difficult to find alternatives in a complete do-it-yourself way, and often illegal, or going this side of the circular economy, that is, everything disappear and it becomes a problem of someone else, and everything becomes very difficult to be also verified. No, you don't know if what is, what is behind all these labels and certifications.
But do you think it could be possible in Italy for there to be a company that collects, tests, verifies, certifies, and then resells second-hand material?
If it's possible, do one thing. I think should be possible, but you need a lot of, Rotor are very big and powerful in Belgium, and they work for government. They have commissions of studies, and they have people that dialogue with them. I think they can influence also the legislation and so. And I think it's absolutely possible to do that in Italy, but you need the capacity, the time, the money. I really don't know why Faculty of Architecture in Italy didn't start to participate, to promote a center, not a research. There are many research, a real place where you can start to do an activity like this. When we came back from Chicago in 2015, we really had the dream to open a place like this in Milan, but it's you must be also a kind of a minimum of entrepreneur, of manager. You must have this kind of capacity. So, and you have, I think you must have money, or someone that, yes, that put money on this project. So, but I think in short time, something like that will start also in Italy, because I think it's so obvious. Thank you.
So, thank you very much, Giacomo. I think you gave us a perfect assignment as universities, and it's also a very nice conclusion for the lecture series.